I want to welcome everyone to the 17th meeting of the 46th year of Rotary Club of Dublin and Worthington. Let's see if he's on yet. Today's invocation is coming to us with Al Wu. Is Al on yet this morning?
I don't see him.
I talked to him last evening, so is anyone else prepared?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Willing?
I saw Jerry jump up. He's headed to get something.
Okay, Jerry. We'll see if
Yeah, just hang on a minute.
okay.
If you'll,
We can chit chat here for a while.
What do they
Yeah,
say?
just-
Here's Jerry.
Jerry, put the suntan oil down and get in here.
if you'll pray with me. Our Heavenly Father, in your infinite wisdom, you gave us free will to love and understanding. Let us use these gifts to love and understand ourselves and our neighbors around the world. May we do this in honor to you, ourselves, and this Rotary Club. Amen.
Thank you, Jerry. Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And normally I'd say go Bucks, but I can't.
Thank you, Jerry. This is a weird Michigan week, to say the least. So, thank you. The President-elect, Steve, are there any visiting guests or Rotarians? I think
Yes.
we have one.
We have one. We have Wolf, Assistant General, Attorney General, Assistant Governor. So let's try and do it. Let's try to do the one clap welcome. So 1, 2, 3, clap. All right.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Jim. Hello, everybody.
In here.
I also have a guest.
Oh,
She's
Who?
hiding
Yes.
behind the virtual background. My wife Debbie is our co-presenter with me this morning.
Oh, hi, Debbie.
Hi,
hi,
Debbie.
Debbie.
But she'll move into the foreground when she presents.
We can see her, moving in and out of the water.
Hiding in the trees.
Hiding behind the trees.
Okay. Does anybody have any happy dollars?
Yes, I have a happy dollar. I just was informed by my daughter in Berlin that my grandson Niels will leave today for Japan. He'll be doing a work-study internship there and working on his Japanese. So he'll be there for 6 months.
Ah,
Awesome.
good.
I'm a little jealous. I'd like to go to Japan. Bro, hook me up. Anybody else?
Steve? Yeah, Don Motley here. I'd like to do a happy dollar for the successful project that we just ran to generate donations and of both money and personal care items and food for the food pantries in our two communities. And hats off to Jerry Katz for chairing that, and to the captains and the volunteers who worked on that project.
Nice.
That was extremely successful in such a difficult time. I talked to the executive director there yesterday, and she was quite pleased with our club's response.
Anybody else got one? One more.
I have a happy dollar. I haven't been on to say how much I really appreciated the speaker that addressed, it was George's guest that addressed the dementia. And I rushed right out and bought my B12. So if any of you with gray hair went and did that, I think you owe $1 too. That was an important part that she said.
What about if we forgot to go out and buy B12?
It's too late.
Yeah, that was a fantastic speaker.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows somebody that's dealing with that illness. Okay, back to you, Jim.
Now we are looking at announcements, and we should have quite a few today. I will start with one of those, which is around the poinsettia pickup is today. I would like everyone who is picking up to actually pull. You will see that there is a driveway in front of 400 West Bridge Street, and you're to drive into that circle and just hang out there while one of the volunteers will come out and arrange for your poinsettias to come out. Please wear a mask when you're in the circle and direct the person to which area of vehicle you would like your poinsettias. They're all delivered, marked, and volunteers will be working between 10 and 5 o'clock today to deliver your poinsettias to your car. So again, please don't park and try to come in the building. Just pull into that circle area and we'll be right with you to deliver your poinsettias. And I would like to thank everyone who either picked up yesterday or helped unload or both. It went very well. And for those volunteers, we are organized at Steve's office with all of them labeled correctly. So please come.
Jim?
Shirley, you want an announcement or?
I have one, Jim.
Okay.
Couple of quick announcements from the district. December is Disease Prevention and Treatment Month. One of our big pushes is obviously polio, and you guys do a great job of supporting that. One way to do that is through the 125 Club plan, and you guys have always supported that well. But something you may not know is that they are also engaging Rotary in this new coronavirus vaccine. And since we have some expertise in distributing vaccines, Rotary International is going to be involved in that in some way. Details will be forthcoming on that. We're not sure about that yet. Also on the 15th, the district masterclass for onboarding and engagement would be a good one for somebody from your club to attend, your membership chair especially. We also have, let's see, the Rotary Convention coming up June 12th to 16 in Taipei. I know there's a tough year to travel, but if you're interested in doing that, the last day to sign up for that with a discount is December 16th, I believe. So that's it for me.
Wolf,
Yep.
you went out a couple times during the announcement. The membership masterclass is what date?
I'm sorry, December 15th at 5 p.m. You should be getting emails from the district on that.
Yeah.
If you need the connection, I can certainly forward it to you. It's going to be a Zoom meeting.
And for those who might not have heard all of what you had to say. Rotary International is definitely becoming engaged in the distribution. Because of their experience with polio, is becoming very definitely engaged with the worldwide vaccination process and distribution. And more will be coming out about that later. But thank you, Wolf, for your discussion. Other announcements?
Thank you.
Yeah, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, Don Motley here. I'm going to hand off to Darnell Perkins in a moment to give a little more explanation of this project. First, if you're a Community Service Committee member, at the conclusion of this meeting, I'll be forwarding an email to you asking you for your formal approval of the project that Darnell is going to describe, which is a project to get gifts to deliver gifts to needy families. And he needs some volunteers this Saturday morning to assist with that. So I'm going to pass it off to Darnell to explain that in more detail. Darnell?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yeah, you know, we've been involved in this gift delivery project for about 25 years. And for those, you know, those of us who remember, you know, Diane Sells, who was the wife of Rich, who is the wife of Rich Sells, a former member, started this program about 25 years ago. And basically what we do is with Kilbourne High School, you know, we pick up the gifts and deliver them. This year, it'll be a no contact delivery. We'll pull up to the school, they'll load up the vehicles, and we just deliver them to the front door of the needy families. So if you can help, you know, we're going to get out an email and I'm going to make some phone calls, but it's this Saturday at 9 o'clock when I start loading the vehicles. And again, you just drive up to the school and then deliver the gifts directly to the homes. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Shirley?
Shirley's trying to say
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying. I can never help with that project, Darnell, because it was our family Christmas party, and this year would have been the 56th one, which we had to cancel. So maybe I can help this year. But anyway, the auction items are all in. I haven't really seen what it looks like online yet, and it seems so different this year. But hopefully we can have a lot of fun with it. And I'll have a little bit more information next week about that. So I hope you'll come to the Zoom Christmas holiday party and do some bidding on some nice gifts that we have. So thanks everyone for your donations.
And related to that, I have posted a link to the raffle in the chat. So if you have not bought your raffle tickets, get on it. We're up to $1,410 so far.
Wow.
And when's the deadline, Steve, to buy those?
6:30 on the 17th.
I did talk to Paula last night, by the way, Shirley, and she says
Oh,
there are
good.
5 items and she will be posting those soon. And and again, that auction will be still live when we start our get together on the 17th.
Right. Thanks.
Mhm. Any other announcements? Okay. Seeing none, we've got a lot of projects and a lot of you are doing some really excellent work out there, so I appreciate that. And now we'll move on to Dave Kittredge. He has a short presentation for us first, and then he will actually do his speaking today shortly after that with his wife, Debbie. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I guess what you wanted me to do first was just an overview of the DRU scholarship program.
That's correct.
Basically, the DRU scholarship program grew out of a matching grant that we got from RI back in 2010, where we supported 12 students, and we thought it was very successful. So we added it as one of 3 components to our DR, our Barrio Lindo Family Economic Improvement Project, which is has 3 parts, as I said, and one is the clinic, which you're all aware of, which the goal of this family security project is basically to help families in the barrio secure and keep employment. And the first part is the health clinic. And we do all of this with the Barrio Lindo Rotary Community Group that advises us on where we should have the greatest impact. And the clinic is the first one, and that's where we help work on preventable illnesses and get people in the primary level of care. The second is related to that. It's on water quality. We were part of Rotary International's Family and Children Water Improvement Project about 15 years ago. And we did the water testing laboratory to help give evidence to the villages on what clean water does for health. And that water lab has actually gone on to become a program run on an ongoing basis by ESA. And the third is the scholarship program, where we target kids in the barrio who have the educational ability to attend and complete a vocational program at IPISA, the Instituto Politécnico Santiago. But there's the funding for that program comes from 3 parts: the government, the Salesian order that runs the program, and then the parents are required to pay a $500 a year tuition as well. And most of the kids in the barrio are not able to provide the $500, so we provide the $500 that the parents would provide. And the Business Development Association started the scholarship program, and we just kind of became a part of it. And they've identified semi-skilled jobs in the community, while the overall rate of unemployment for kids is 20-some-odd%. In these specific jobs, they can't get enough kids and applicants to fill it. So pretty much, if a kid gets through the program, they're guaranteed of a job. So again, the 3 elements are the clinic and water quality and scholarships for youth. Again, all aimed at helping families support themselves on an ongoing basis. And we thought this was better than the usual, one-shot in and out deal, where we're working with the community on an ongoing basis to help families, get out of poverty. So Steve, if you've got that video, we might play that.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Studying in IPISA was one of the best moments of my life. Employers expect us to have practical experience and knowledge, and since we studied in IPISA, we have an advantage. Undergoing this technical education, you get a lot of experience in those 4 years, because from the beginning, you get access to the workshops to learn and to practice, and through internships, we get actual work time. People can tell the difference when you're coming from IPISA, because the institution prepares us for the job market and for society. Studying in IPISA helped me exploit my potential and develop my skills. Lots of institutions don't do that. We really value what IPISA is doing. We have experiences with interns and employees, now supervisors, that come from IPISA. Apart from the discipline and the technical education, their education and values. And when we get requests or we have vacancies, the first thing that engineers ask for is for them to be IPISA alumni, because there is a difference. From what we have in Santiago, IPISA is the best there is. I have noticed some changes in you. I see you have a lot of confidence. I see you're sure of yourselves and have great capacity of expressing yourselves.
And we get the $500 from the, am I on? I'm not.
Mhm.
Okay. We get the $500 from the endowment fund that we just started, where we have, due to many people on this screen and the friends of theirs and others, so we have $35,000 right now, and growing. And the raffle money will supplant that or supplement that. So that's where we get the money from, the $500 a year. And currently, we're about to award our first 2 scholarships out of that fund, 2 kids who are enrolled this October. So, any questions? I'll move into the presentation.
Yes, Dave and Debbie, I'd like you to introduce your wife, Debbie. She's
the move
there. She is
out of the limelight.
Yeah, she's out of the limelight. Yeah. Thank you so much, Debbie, for coming today. And Dave, some of our best presentations are by our members, and I think we're in for a treat today with the 5,500-mile Great American Loop. So Dave, go ahead.
I'll share my screen, hopefully. Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're going to split this up. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We did this originally last year at the Cleveland Boat Show. So this is why it's set up a little formal. But some of you may know I have a passion for restoring wooden boats. And actually the virtual background that I have is of our cabin up in Northern Ontario. And if sometime you look over my right shoulder, you'll see the first boat that I did was a 19-foot Lyman. And that was completed in the late 90s. And much to Debbie's chagrin, I found another one, the one you see in front of you, which looks quite pretty. That was a year or so before we bought her. But after that, she sat in a yard for a couple of years, uncovered, and wood and rain don't do well together. So she began to rot and really got to the point where they were getting ready to burn her or find an owner. So we knew what we were getting into. We had it surveyed. I couldn't let her get burned, so I got the price was right, as they say. So we bought her in 2001. But Debbie pointed out that one of the stipulations was that we had 2 children to put through college and 2 weddings to hopefully fund. So as long as those went on unabated, I could have my weekends to go work on the boat. And she did take a lot of work. and over the next 10 years. And you can see from the pictures that she was pretty extensively rotted. We had to put a whole new bottom and many of the side planks as well. We tore the cockpit out and put new decks on and revarnished the transom and took the cabin top off and redid the. I found a restorer who worked with me, and he did a lot of the stuff, the technical stuff that I don't have the tools or the knowledge to do. But he let me come into the shop and be one of the guys hanging around the shop for coffee break and working on my boat. So, and then on weekends, I'd come up and do the same thing. Bit by bit, we did get the 2 weddings funded, and thank God both kids got through college and are currently employed. So, and we have a boat. But towards the end, I had conversations with my husband and my cousin, and he told me about something called the Great Loop. And after 10 years or 9 years of working on the boat, I was beginning to drag a little, and the guy that the restorer is an artisan, and he loves to be an artisan on somebody else's checkbook. So I had the checkbook and he was the artisan, and towards the end, we were getting a little, he wanted to keep going much further than my checkbook would sustain. So things were getting tense. So I needed something to lighten things. So I began thinking about this great loop that my cousin's husband had told me about. And came home one day and told Debbie that I thought that we should do this, or at least I was going to do it. And I thought I could find friends to go with me, and I'd come home, you know, go and do it a little bit more and come home. And she said, hell no. So I'm coming with you. So we began to plan. My last 3 or so years at work, my ritual became I'd come into work, get my coffee, I'd sign on to the AGLCA, which is the American Great Loop Cruises Association website, and would blog for about 15, 20, 30 minutes with folks and ask questions. And so we began to do some specific things to get Winds of Change ready for a 5,000-mile trip. And a couple of those were we had to put a marine head in with a 20-gallon holding tank. We added radar, and we added an inverter charger so we could have 110 power either at the dockside or even while we were running. And I put flush valves on the engines so that when we got into salt water, every night I could flush the engines. And all of that was, the know-how for that was given to me by the kind folks that had already done it before me, who were members of the AGLCA. So it was fun, and I don't know that we ever really knew we were going to do it till we actually did it, but it was fun planning to do it anyway. But what you see in front of you is the map of the route, and then each pin that you see there in that map is where we spent the night on one night. So you can see we started, Debbie will do more in depth, but we started out in Sandusky, went up through Detroit, up the eastern shore of Michigan to Mackinac, under the Mackinac Bridge, and down the western shore of Michigan, Chicago, down the rivers to Peoria, Illinois, where we spent the first, we put the boat up for the winter and went to the Dominican Republic for 4 months and had some work done on the boat while it was in Peoria. And then since the floods on the rivers sometimes don't subside till August, we really didn't plan to get back to the boat until August of 16. So we did, and then went August of 16 to November of 17 to get down to Punta Gorda, Fort Myers area where our daughter and grandchildren are. And we spent the holidays there, and then after that, I went over to the DR again, came back, and then had some work done on the boat, and then we headed up the east shore of the United States, up to New York, up the Hudson River, over the Erie Canal, up the Oswego Canal to Lake Ontario, and then through southern Ontario on what's known as the Trent Severn Waterway, back into the Georgian Bay, where we had another challenge to overcome at that point. I had developed sepsis and was popping in and out of emergency rooms in the Canadian health system, and eventually had to drive home to Wexner and get it finally killed, and then went back to the boat, which was in Tobermory, Ontario, and then did the last 5 days on oral antibiotics. But we did make it in September of 2017. And I'll hand it off to Debbie, who can give you more in-depth on how our marriage survived. And if you all want to do it, she'll give you tips on how your marriage can survive.
Thank you for having me this morning. You need to scoot over. Okay. Like Dave presented, that he came home to me with the idea of taking this 5,500-mile trip on a 50-year-old boat that he had restored himself. And I kind of thought to myself, what could go wrong? And but I was on board from the very beginning, as Dave said. I just saw it as an adventure and something that I wasn't going to be left behind on. The boat's name is Winds of Change, as you saw in a couple of pictures back there. And we came up with that name because we were retiring and wanted a change in our life. This would be a big change in our life. So we put the house up for sale and moved on board and took off. Prior to that trip, we had spent maybe about 2 hours, was the longest we had been on the boat. We had never slept on it. We had never cooked on it. So our first stop, we got to experience that for the first time. We also learned what it was like to live within a 300 square foot area, much smaller than most houses. And we started it on August 27th of 2015. We were kind of late getting started because of various things, vacations, getting the boat ready, etc. So we were behind the pack of other loopers, and we did a lot of our traveling by ourselves. And but it allowed us to meet a lot of other people that we normally would not get to meet. We stopped and made sure that we talked to them and learned their stories and learned from them about the area, and about navigation and about apps for the phone that we could use to make the trip much more interesting and much safer. Dave explained the route to you pretty much, and we ended up back in Middle Bath Island, where we spent our first night. That was our last night there, and completed the loop and earned our gold flag on September 23rd of 2017. The original plan was to do the trip within a year, but we learned very quickly you can't make plans. You have to be respectful of the water and the weather, and so we ended up staying a lot longer in places we didn't plan, and we ended up zooming through other areas that we would have liked to have toured a little bit or looked around a little bit longer because the weather was perfect for that day. The people that we met, when everybody asked what was the best thing about the trip, what I keep coming up with was the people that we met along the way. Starting with the harbor masters and the crew at the different marinas where we stopped. They were a wealth of information about the community and the struggles a lot of the smaller towns were facing with the economy. They were also just very kind and helpful, giving us information about the next stop that we were going to be staying at. The first loopers that we ran into were on the boat Fruition, and that was before we went through our first major lock. We had done the first lock in Chicago, moving from Michigan into Chicago River. But that was only 2 feet down and it wasn't really serious. You can see us, how we travel down a lock there. We hook our rope onto a mallard and we're either taken up or down depending on where we're going, what direction the lock is going in. We also ran into, we were able to travel with Alan and Jean Lloyd. We met them originally before starting the loop. And they were a great mentor to us that whenever Dave had a question about the weather or where to stop, Alan was always there for texting him, giving him information. We also were able to travel with them on the most difficult part of the trip, which is down the Mississippi over to Lake Cumberland. That's because the Mississippi River has a lot of currents. We have to do a lot of anchoring out overnight rather than staying in a marina. And there's Alan and his boat there, Alan and Jean's boat.
They're British. Their boat is 2 by sea and their car is 1 by land.
So we learned a lot from both of them about how to do things on the trip for the first time. There was also Mary and Bruce that we met on the Tenn-Tom. Probably people that we would never have had the opportunity to get to know.
All I could find, this is all I could find. All they had over there. So we just connect them, but just make sure.
So people that we would not have met normally, they're very brash and very loud, but we found once we traveled with them for a period of time, we found that both of them have such a heart of gold. Bruce is very knowledgeable about mechanics in the boat, and he was always quick to jump in whenever anyone was having an issue. He could change anything, fix anything. And it's always nice to have a buddy boat like that where they've got a lot of knowledge. Sandy and John, who we met on the Trent Severn and traveled the whole distance with them. The Trent Severn was interesting to begin with, but they made it such a fun experience to do it with another boat. Also, the many family members we met along the way, cousins, siblings, children, people in the community. I remember hearing a guy talking about how excited he was that he finally got a job after a couple of years of being unemployed, and he was going to be making $8.50 an hour, and he was thrilled with that. Kind of brought reality to us of what the small towns are experiencing. Our experiences were something else that we came up with, that I came up with, that was so meaningful. I was not a sailor when we started out. I had never really spent a lot of time on a boat, but by the end of this, I could do pretty much anything other than drive the boat because Dave insisted on doing that. We conquered locks, which was one of my biggest fears. Crossed the Gulf, traveled through downtown Chicago, which was amazing. Learned to work as a team. We learned whose jobs needed to be done. Also going up really deep locks. This is the one, oh no, this is only 55. One of the tallest locks or deepest locks, depending on which direction you're going, was 84 feet. We did that on the 10 Tom. We learned to, or on the we traveled past the Statue of Liberty. There's the 84-foot lock that we went on. We traveled through the Trent Severn, where they have some unique locks that we wouldn't find anyplace else. There's 2 lift locks that will be on the slide. Also the Big Chute, which is basically a railroad that takes you up over the road and down the other side. We learned how to navigate the medical system in Canada, and just had the satisfaction of completing the loop and earning our gold flag. We found out that we loved cruising so much that we wanted to do more, but on a much bigger boat than what we had. So we are in the process of selling Windsor Change, and we've bought a 40-foot Hatteras that is down in Florida. We spent the winter down there living on it. The current name is Bad Habit, which seemed appropriate at the time, but we want to make it more honest, so we're going to be changing it to Winds of Time. We learned about the kindness of others. We met so many great people who helped us out without a second thought, many who wouldn't take money for what they were doing. We damaged our props, we had engine trouble, but nothing that really kept us from losing any days on the loop itself. Winds of Change just did a wonderful job of taking us on any body of water that we went on. Also ran into a lot of Facebook friends that we'd met a lot, that I had been conversing with online, because I was documenting the trip as we went, and they would come at various points and come up and meet us and talk with us. And then the trip to the DR, which I can't, that's a whole nother story in itself, but that was just a wonderful, great experience that we had. We saw the United States from a view that most people don't get to see, and that was most rewarding. So thank you. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Debbie.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the reflections on your trip. It was really interesting. Well, did you have a frightening experience that?
Right, yeah, a couple of them.
Right in front of you is one of them.
Yeah, one of our friends asked me what was the most, were the locks really scary? And I thought, no, the locks were probably the easiest part of the trip once we went through it and I knew what we were doing. But the big body of waters were the ones that kind of threw me. Going over through the Neuse, wasn't it the Neuse River? Yeah, Neuse River. We had been told not to travel on that day, but other people were going out, so we thought, what the heck, what could be, you know, what would be the problem? We ended up that the waves were quite big and were going up over the cabin. So we kind of held on until we got in. We learned not to go out when people said not to go out. We also had one other experience where we were leaving. What's the name of that town? Dave, what's the name of that town?
What town?
Manasquan. Manasquan. Going out the inlet into the Atlantic Ocean. As we were heading out, I saw these huge rolling waves coming in. Had to be 10 feet in my experience. Who knows how tall they were, but yeah, I only had visions of Tom Hanks in that movie, and I just thought we were just gonna die on that. Although there were littler boats than us going out, so we figured it can't be all that bad. It lasted about 5 seconds, kind of getting up and over. Unfortunately, I had a very competent captain and a very good boat, and things went well.
One of the rituals we had every morning was we looked at the latest weather report, and we had a deal that before we started the trip, that if either one of us felt queasy about going that day, we wouldn't go. And there were a number of days when either one of us felt queasy, but we usually talked the other one out of it. This was a day that I felt queasy on the Neuse River. But Debbie's words were, how bad can it be? Well, this doesn't look that bad, but we had water over the cabin and over the windshield. And those waves, that trough off to the left, it's probably a 5-foot trough, which is hidden, and most of it's hidden by the wave in front of it. So you hit a 6-foot trough in a 30-foot boat. The boat was built for it because it was built for Lake Erie, but the crew was tested.
Debbie, I just want to say I followed your blog, and I want to tell you, I look forward to reading it, and it gave us some insight of the geography that you were seeing, but the wit and humor that you put in some of those, it just made me smile. So you did a good job.
Thank you. It was my creative outlet. I had fun writing it, so, and I'm glad people enjoyed it. Yeah, I can't even begin to do justice to the trip. And if you want to hear more about it, at the end of the slideshow is the blog, or you can ask Dave for the address of the blog and read more there.
This was one of the more memorable things here. This was Norfolk. It was a park in Norfolk dedicated to young soldiers, and it had all their letters home on plaques. And the main one as you walked in was a poem by Archibald MacLeish called Young Dead Soldiers. And the end of it is, we leave our deaths, give them their meaning. We were young, they say we have died. Remember us. And that has changed my, whenever I go to Memorial Day or Veterans Day ceremony, and I view it differently, because that and Shiloh, which we saw on the trip, were memorable. I'll just flip through. We lost our steering at one point. I was able to fix it, but it was a few tense moments. New York Harbor.
Dave, I have a question. What made you decide to restore a boat?
Good question.
I don't know. I just, there's something about a wood boat that I can't, I just can't get away from. And
Well, Dave started boating at a young age. He was always a sailor.
Yeah, I've been a boater, and actually on this trip, I was able to get the hours in, so I was able to get my Coast Guard captain's license, which had been a goal I'd always wanted to achieve. But anyway, I've always been a boater, and wood boats, and wood is, you can, I mean, it's just easy to work with, and more easier than fiberglass. And it got me out of town with Debbie's permission on weekends. It was a stress reliever from work. So just, it was something I could do. It's something I had the skills to do, and wanted to learn more about, and wanted to, further my skill development as a skipper. So just kind of came naturally.
Would there be other things that you would do differently if you had to do this again?
Bigger boat.
Bigger boat. No, I mean, yeah, these are the numbers. We did 5,500 miles, 225 days, 600 hours on the engines. I asked the mechanic before I left, I said, do you think the boat will make it? The engines will make it. And he said, he thought they would.
He said, sure, no problem at all. I had asked the question too, because
Is it gas or diesel?
Gas.
They're gas. The new boat's diesel. And, but when I got back, he said, boy, I never thought it would make it. So that's it.
Will you do it again
Dave?
with the new boat?
Excuse me?
Would you do it again with the new boat?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we're gonna do parts of it. One of the things you kind of, when you get on the loop, you kind of feel, if you got a good weather day, you want to go. And you want to complete so you kind of forget to kind of smell the roses and take your time because you want to complete the journey. Well, now we've done it, so we're gold loopers. So now we can go back and visit the places we missed. So yeah, we'll do it.
That's our new boat there that's in this picture that we bought.
I have a question for you both. So I assume you didn't have a lot of storage on the boat. So how did you manage shopping, cooking, laundry, that kind of stuff?
Well, there
every
was
day?
surprisingly more storage on the boat than I expected. There were all kinds of little cubbies hidden back, like behind the couch and things. So, but we had the understanding because the galley was so small. We basically had a hot plate and a dorm-sized refrigerator. So the understanding was that we would spend as many nights as possible in marinas. We also didn't have a shower. So having access to that was really important to me. We also had the agreement that we would eat many of our meals out. So I probably cooked maybe about 10 times on the boat altogether. So for the most part, we did that. All the marinas pretty much had a laundromat there, washer and dryer. Sometimes you had to wait because somebody was ahead of you. Some were free, some were really expensive, but that's how we did our laundry.
But the marinas were where you met all the people, and of course we got to eat fare all over the United States. So we've had catfish in southern Tennessee by Shiloh and a few other delicacies.
Our ritual when we got into port was Dave had to go get his beer. So we would find a bar, the closest bar, celebratory beer.
Celebratory beer.
Our daughter made the comment early on. She said, so this is basically a senior citizens pub crawl that you're on.
Do you know if you through your blog, Debbie, and other ways, have you inspired others to take this adventure?
I don't know if I have or not. When we did to do it on their own, when we did the presentation in Michigan or in Cleveland, we had, I think, one of the largest groups over all the other presentations that were there. And a lot of people came specifically because they were planning on doing the loop or they were in the middle of the loop. So we met a lot of people that way. And a number of them who I talked to on Facebook were planning on doing the loop. And so they were interested in following our experience.
We had a guy drive up from just a little bit north of Cincinnati to the Cleveland Boat Show last year because he saw in the paper that there was going to be a presentation on the loop. So thank you.
I have a good friend who had done the loop, but he had done it in a 48-foot boat, and it was a much different experience. His wife actually wrote a book about it, but having heard their presentation, I am quite respectful of your ability to go through this with a much smaller boat. The difference was much different. They were much more on a cruiser than the type of boat. So your experience is quite inspiring. And
one of the advantages of doing the loop in our boat, which was a smaller boat, was that we didn't have any restrictions on where we could go. We had a shallow enough draft that we could go into a lot of marinas that some of the bigger boats couldn't go in. We were able to go through downtown Chicago, which a lot of the bigger boats couldn't do because their air draft was so much higher. I would not have wanted to miss those sections that we were able to do. Also, because we had a 50-year-old boat that had just recently been restored, Dave had done an amazing job of making sure the boat was ready along with our mechanic and our restorer. We had fewer problems on our boat than many of the bigger boats and newer boats. They were always stuck in a marinas for weeks waiting for parts to come in or waiting for somebody to come help fix it. Outside of one situation where we had to wait 2 weeks for a fuel pump at the very beginning of the trip, we never lost a day because of a glitch that we were having. The boat performed admirably.
Most of the boats can't do the ICW in New Jersey because it's too shallow, but we could. And that really is a beautiful part of the country that I'd never seen and would never have seen unless we did it the way we did it.
I don't know if you know, there's another couple in Dublin, an attorney and his wife, who did a similar loop as you did in a 24-foot sailboat.
Yeah.
And I think they only made it down to Florida, and then they decided to sell the boat and drive home. So it took them a lot longer, I think, than you did.
There was one guy doing it on a paddleboard, but they do it in all kinds of vessels.
Well, thank you again, Dave. And Debbie. Together from the very beginning, and that's tremendous. So thank you very much. We've often said our best presentations come from members, and today I'm reminded of that. Thank you very much. Again, I want to remind folks that on December 17th in the evening, beginning at 6:30 till 8, we have a virtual cocktail party, which includes both our auction and the raffle. And you'll be getting more information on that in the next week or so. Again, that goes from 6:30 p.m. till 8 o'clock p.m. And the auction will in fact conclude during the meeting, so we'll be giving some updates on that as we proceed. So thank you all for coming today. And as we, for the next meeting, we will be having Heather Dugan, which she's a award-winning author, and she will be speaking on Name Your Normal: Coping and Connecting During COVID-19. She is author of several books and is the founder of Cabernet Coaches, which is a group for women that fosters connections and personal betterment. And so given the time of year, this is a very appropriate and I think will be a good presentation for the club next Wednesday. So as we close today, we will do the four-way test, and I ask that you repeat with me of the things we think, say, and do. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth,
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Again, thank you for attending. If you're please come to pick up your poinsettias. If you cannot make it today because of some emergency or problem, please do call me, and I will put out a reminder right after this meeting with my phone number, but please do come pick up your poinsettias. And thank you to all of the volunteers who will be helping with that. So have a good day, and talk to you or see you later on a Zoom meeting.